Hello Jason, today's Monday, April 7th, and I figured since we're more than 25% of the way through the year so far, maybe today would be a good day to do a bit of a review. Especially since I haven't really been maintaining the website, and don't have any real plans to continue maintaining it in the future. So here we are, 97 days into the Rad Bromance Project, and we've done quite a bit thus far. So for anyone who may be new to the project or hasn't really been keeping up with the videos, this will be a good refresher to see what we've done. Starting with challenges. Now at the beginning of the year, we set ourselves a certain number of challenges, and we've been trying to make progress in those challenges as the year progresses. But we've also been adding challenges, which I think for the most part the added challenges we haven't made that much progress in. Yep, I just double checked. Very little progress in the added challenges so far. The challenge I've made the most progress in so far has been the reading challenge. I've read 15 out of 70 books, 13 of which you can see right about there. The other two books which should be added to the pile were library books, which I no longer have in my possession, so that's why they're not there. And on top of that, I'm currently reading two more books, the first of which you know is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, the second of which is Always Looking Up, The Adventures of an Incurable Optimist by Michael J. Fox, which is my biography for the month. To go along with this challenge, early on in the Rad Bromance Project, I considered making a side channel in order for me to review and do commentary on the books that I read. And that's an idea that I'm really considering revisiting now that I have a bit more infrastructure built. And by infrastructure, of course, I mean that I've done enough of these videos now that I can do them efficiently, whereas at the beginning of the Rad Bromance Project, it would take me a few hours. So in the coming weeks, stay tuned for potential progress on that front. The next highest amount of progress that I've done is in the running challenge, where I've run 35 out of 500 miles so far. Most of which, thanks to the harsh Canadian climate, has been over the past month or so, and on top of that, unfortunately in the past week or so, I've developed a very painful blister in a very inopportune area on my foot. Effectively, every time I take a step it feels like there's a pebble in my sock that keeps driving further and further into my foot, so I've been sort of walking on the side of my foot for the past week. Which I know would definitely disturb anyone who was trained in ballet and thinks that turning your foot outward is the way to go. Luckily, thanks to the near-miraculous restorative powers of the human body and the fact that it seems that spring has actually sprung, I'll hopefully be able to get in a lot more miles in the coming weeks. A third challenge of mine, and a more metaphysical or symbolic one, was to find a new stone to represent who I am. This is the old one. I don't like it. And slowly but surely, I feel as though I've made incremental progress in this challenge, even though it may not be readily apparent in any specific video. Then again, it may be abundantly apparent in certain videos because I have some really big plans for this challenge. But more on that later. The final two challenges that I set for myself are the ones that I've made little or no progress in, and that's writing my novel, which I really need to get to work on, and doing one painting every month or 12 paintings over the year. In terms of the novel, I'm still at about 5,000 out of a desired 150,000 words written, but I have a lot of the plot outlined in my head. It's really just a matter of setting aside some time each day to write down maybe 3,000 to 5,000 words, and eventually that'll add up to my total. In terms of the painting challenge, I also have a fancy excuse, and luckily it corresponds to my excuse for another challenge, the running challenge. That excuse being that it's quite a bit harder to motivate yourself to paint when it's cold because you're using your fingers a lot and wet paint. So now that it's getting warmer, I'll be more likely to use my hands to do artistic things like painting or drawing, which I also like to do. And then, not to be discouraged by my lack of progress in some challenges, I've decided to add a new 3-part challenge that's probably bigger than any of the other ones that I have so far. And the 3 parts are as follows: relearn to speak French, relearn to speak German, and learn to speak Italian. Now, I agree with you, that's a really ambitious 3-goal set, but let me explain why it's not really that big of a deal. Firstly, and most importantly, I'm not seeking to become completely proficient in these languages. I just want to initiate the learning process. Secondly, I already pretty much understand spoken French, I just can't speak back because I don't know which words to call up. And in terms of German, I'm already probably slightly better off than French, even though I've been exposed to French my entire life. That being because German is so similar to English in many aspects, and because I learned it most recently. And so I'm hoping that by the end of the Rad Bromance Project, I'll be able to make one video each in French, German, and Italian to show off my new language skills. And to facilitate this process, I'm going to start ending my videos with a word of the day in French, German, and Italian. And of course English, because, quite frankly, that's how we're communicating. So that's pretty much everything I have for challenges, but as you know, Jason, here at the Rad Bromance Project, we don't just do challenges, we also do all kinds of other crazy nonsense projects. And so let's take a look back at some of the projects that we've initiated so far in the Rad Bromance. Starting with this bad boy, which avid viewers will know is the box that I intend to use for the Murder Mystery Project. Now, the Murder Mystery Project basically started off as a way for us to fuse mathematics and storytelling, so your specialty and mine. But it has since evolved into this sort of alternative storytelling medium in which mathematics is an integral part to solving a mystery. And I've actually managed to make a lot of progress in terms of creating the first chapter or the initial setup of this storyline, so hopefully I'll have an update for you in the coming few weeks. And as a special treat, I'll even show you the first piece of evidence that's been created for the project. This. What could it mean and how's it related to the story? Well, you're going to have to wait to find out because I still have a lot of work to do. But like I said, in the coming weeks, hopefully I'll be able to show you a lot more of this project than what I've shown you so far. The next project that we started working on is the Rad Bromance Cookbook, but I'm not really involved in that. It's more your gig, so I'll let you handle that if you want to. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Rad Bromance Cookbook is, it's exactly what it sounds like. And then, of course, we've had our prediction contests. The Super Bowl prediction contest, which was your forte, something you really knew about, which I beat you at. And then the Oscar Bingo prediction challenge, which was my forte, something I knew a lot more about, which you completely destroyed me at. And quite frankly, I found those to be a lot of fun, so hopefully we can come up with some new ideas for prediction-type contests to do in the near future. Maybe something like a Game of Thrones Season 4 Death Pool? And then we've got specific video projects like Badass Mother Fridays or my several-part series A Day in the Life. But these are really ongoing projects that I look forward to seeing how they end up over time, and to that effect, I'm looking forward to doing a couple of new projects hopefully in the near future. Specifically, I want to start doing segments in my videos every time I have a video on a specific day. For example, every time I have a video on a Wednesday, I may want to present a new song that I've written. Whereas every time I have a Thursday video, I may want to do a more poetic type of segment, kind of like what I did on March 11th. So, while none of that is really set in stone right now, I'm definitely thinking that we need to add more projects to the Rad Bromance. And of course, to keep up the good work on the projects we already have on the go. And so that brings us to looking back at the Rad Bromance project so far as a whole. So far we've made 66 videos, 33 each, this one being the 67th. And those 66 videos have been viewed a total of 1,117 times, over a period of 3,654 minutes, or just over 2.5 days. While most of those 3,654 minutes have been viewed in Canada by our friends and family members, some have been viewed in 17 other countries around the world. But the most important part of the Rad Bromance project so far looking back is that we've been able to keep in touch more than we did in the past year when I was living in Ottawa. And so rather than letting this friendship fizzle and die out like most friendships do after university, we've been able to feed it and allow it to flourish. So here's a thumbs up to a pretty eventful and exciting quarter of a year so far, and here's looking forward to the remaining 3 quarters. And beyond. And that, of course, just leaves Battleship. Your attack on G1 was a hit, and by now I'm pretty sure you've figured out at least my next 3 moves. The first of which is to attack H4.